When you're dealing with your narcissistic family, you have those certain individual family members that just cause the most stress for everyone. And these are the people where their presence alone is enough to cause a rift, to cause a shift in the energy, to create tension in the environment. And you have all of these people living under one roof, and you have this rotten apple. And you know how they say one rotten apple spoils the bunch? Yeah. But another thing is that rotten fruit always falls. And when the rotten fruit can no longer stand in an energetic space because you have that black sheep. Sometimes it's the chosen one. You have that one person that is highly empathetic, that has the purest soul out of everyone. Their energy is so pure and so light that it creates such purity in the environment that the rotten fruit can't stand being there, because the rottenness of their spirit is so different from the purity of the other person's spirit that the rotten spirit feels so uncomfortable, so out of place, that they just naturally just fall away. Because the rotten fruit wants to be rotten and wants to spoil that and spew that rottenness on other people, on everyone else. But when the other fruit is so pure and so ripe, and no matter how rotten they are, that other fruit just, they stay ripe, they stay pure, they don't become rotten, then that rotten fruit gets even more rotten. They continue to rot. And the more that they rot, eventually they will fall off that bunch. And they will roll away into an area where they can continue to be rotten. And they are not, where that rotten fruit wants to be able to spew that rottenness on others. And when they are unable to do that and they have to keep their rottenness to themselves, they will go around another bunches of fruit that will allow them to be rotten, that will allow that rottenness to spew to others. It's crazy how when those certain family members are living up under that roof, that it creates a lot of tension. And it's that one toxic family member really is truly a nuisance. Because it's just their presence alone just creates so much turmoil. And it's just like the rest of the people in the house are unable to live peacefully because they constantly have to give away their energy to this one person. And this can look like the toxic family member, that rotten family member. You have to constantly talk to this rotten family member about respecting your boundaries, because they don't respect your boundaries and they continue to cross your boundaries. And as many times as you talk to them, they don't change. It doesn't matter if you are respectful to them, they're still going to go cross your boundaries. And even if you have to get a little disrespectful, they're still going to go cross your boundaries. But sometimes what happens is you may feel like you have to get disrespectful with them. You have to get nasty with them, because sometimes you getting nasty with them, you getting disrespectful with them, you yelling at them, you fighting with them is the only way to get them to stop crossing your boundaries, because they take your kindness for weakness and they just continue to walk all over you. But once you really let them have it and you let them know, my boundaries are my boundaries, you will not cross them, or else there will be consequences, or else I will argue with you, or else I will fight with you, or else I will yell at you, or else, yes, I will curse you out, until you learn that you cannot continue to cross my boundaries just because you feel like it. You know how they say sometimes, when you have a child that is constantly misbehaving and you say, well, maybe if you just get a belt on them, like a good 2 times, they're going to stop what they're doing. A lot of times that works because they don't want to go cross a boundary or do something wrong or do something bad because they know what's going to be coming to them. So once you kind of basically got to give them an energetic butt whooping with that belt, and you got to be a little more aggressive, that's the only thing that's going to get them to stop. Because then they're like, you know what? Yeah, I can go ahead and they think this. Yeah, I can go ahead and cross their boundaries. I'm going to do it because I feel like it. I'm going to do it because I don't respect them. I'm going to do it because I don't like them. I'm going to do it because I feel like it. But then they think, but what's going to come after me? This person, they going to come over here. They going to yell at me. They going to curse me out. They going to scream at me. They going to fight with me. They going to argue with me. And they not going to let up until I stop. So you know what? It's not even worth it. I don't want to deal with their wrath. I don't want to deal with their fighting. I don't want to deal with their arguing because if I fight with them, I'm not going to win that fight. Every single fight they have won, and I got to win the fight. I got to be in control. So you know what? I'm not going to do it anymore. Let me tell you, I've been in that position where a family member has continued to cross my boundaries, and every single other time I've had to go off, I've had to curse them out, I've had to yell at them, and it took me to take it that far to really come out of my character just to get them to stop. Sometimes a person won't respect you until you get disrespectful with them. But no one should have to live like that. No one should have to worry about coming home from work and watching as if a family member is, has crossed their boundaries and has done something and using their property, using their belongings, and just disrespecting their belongings after you have already told them not to. No one wants to come home and get irritated. No one wants to come home and deal with that type of stress. No one wants to come home and have to fight with somebody. No one wants to have to do that. And it's just stressful when you have those family members that live with you that act like that. Or also when you have those rotten family members, those are the ones that are very lazy and trifling. They don't clean up after themselves. They have clothes all over the place. They have food and plates and cups and half drunken water bottles and pop cans that aren't finished just all over the place. They cook food in the kitchen, don't put up the food, they don't clean up the stove, they don't wash the dishes, they leave everything there, and they just let it sit there, and they go and they just sit there and be lazy and lay back down on the couch, and they don't clean up after themselves. And then other family members are now irritated because they have to see this mess in the kitchen that they didn't make, that is not clean. And you can ask the other person and say, hey, can you clean up your mess? And then they'll say, yeah, I'll get to it. But then they don't ever get to it. And then now other family members are forced to clean up after this other person, this other family member, this other grown-ass family member, coming up behind them, cleaning up their mess. That's more energy that you are giving to this rotten family member by cleaning up their mess that you did not make. That's exactly how these rotten family members get supplied. They're lazy. They do that whole weaponized incompetence. They act like they are just so incompetent. They can't clean up after themselves. They can't clean up their mess. Other people have to do it for them. But the thing is, these people are well capable of cleaning up after themselves. They just choose not to do it. They choose to be lazy. They choose to leave their stuff around. They choose to be messy and trifling because they know that it's going to cause stress to other people. They know that it's going to cause tension, and they know that the only way that they're actually going to get attention is by doing bad things, doing negative things. So they think that negative tension is better than no attention at all. Because when these family members are doing what they're supposed to do, like they go in the kitchen, they cook, they clean up after themselves, they clean up the kitchen, they put their clothes away, they put everything away, no one really says anything to them. No one really pays much attention to them because they're doing what they're supposed to do. But the minute that they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and you have to come and talk to them to tell them, clean up your stuff, pick this up, clean up after yourself, that's giving them attention. It's giving them supply. So they use that whole weaponized incompetence where they feel like they are incapable of doing things and that people have to come tell them and come remind them or just clean up after them because that's the supply that they're getting. And this is tiring. It's draining. And once those family members are no longer living up under that roof, the tension has now been released. The tension is gone. There is no more drama. There is no more stress. There is no more bickering and arguing and fighting. There is no more yelling and hooping and hollering, because the rotten one that was causing the stress has now been removed. And the thing is, it's not that you have to flee away from that house to get away from that rotten family member. No, you stay where you are and let that rotten person leave. They don't belong there.